Chapter 2.5 Let's March. Kailash Satyarthi, 1954, is an Indian children's rights and education advocate and an activist against child labor. He founded the Bachpan Bachao Andolan in 1980 and has acted to protect the rights of more than 83,000 children across 144 countries. Activist means a protester. He is honored with many awards, including Nobel Peace Prize of 2014. He had addressed the speech on the eve of Nobel Prize distribution ceremony. Part first. My dear children of the world, Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, dear brother Tom Harkin, brothers and sisters, and my dear daughter Malala. From this podium of peace and humanity, I am deeply honored to recite a mantra from the ancient texts of wisdom, Vedas. This mantra carries a prayer, an aspiration, and a resolve that has the potential to liberate humanity from all man-made crises. Podium means platform. Aspiration means an ardent wish or desire. Let's walk together in the pursuit of global progress. Not a single person should be left out or left behind in any corner of the world, from east to west, from south to north. Pursuit means search. Let's speak together. Let our minds come together. Learning from the experiences of our ancestors, let us together create knowledge for all that benefits all. Ancestors means forefathers. I bow to my late parents, to my motherland India, and to Mother Earth. With a warm heart, I recall how thousands of times I have been liberated. Each time I have freed a child from slavery. In the first smile of freedom on their beautiful faces, I see the gods smiling. Liberated means released. Freed means released or free. Slavery means the state of being a slave. I give the biggest credit of this honor to my movements Kalu Kumar, Dhoom Das and Adarsh Kishore from India and Iqbal Masih from Pakistan, who made the supreme sacrifice for protecting the freedom and dignity of children. Dignity means self-respect. I humbly accept this award on behalf of all such martyrs, my fellow activists across the world and my countrymen. Martyrs means persons who are killed because of their belief. Countrymen means fellow citizens. My journey from the great land of Lord Buddha, Guru Nanak and Mahatma Gandhi, India to Norway, is a connect between the two centers of global peace and brotherhood, ancient and modern. Friends, the Nobel Committee has generously invited me to present a lecture. Respectfully, I am unable to do that because I am representing here the sound of silence. The sound of silence means unheard plea of the deprived, the cry of innocence, and the face of invisibility. Face of invisibility means unnoticed suffering of the poor and innocent. I represent millions of those children who are left behind, and that's why I have kept an empty chair here as a reminder. I have come here only to share the voices and dreams of our children, because they are all our children, gesture to everyone in the audience. I have looked into their frightened and exhausted eyes. I have held their injured bodies and felt their broken spirits. 20 years ago, in the foothills of the Himalayas, I met a small, skinny child laborer. He asked me, "Is the world so poor that it cannot give me a toy and a book instead of forcing me to take a gun or a tool?" I met with a Sudanese child soldier. He was kidnapped by an extremist militia. Extremist militia means an activist who is not into army, but he is trained like military force. As his first training lesson, he was forced to kill his friends and family. He asked me, "What is my fault?" Friends, all the great religions teach us to care for our children. Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to them." The Holy Quran says, "Kill not your children because of poverty." Hinder means to obstruct or prevent. Friends, there is no greater violence than to deny the dreams of our children. Therefore, I refuse to accept that all the temples and mosques and churches and prayer houses have no place for the dreams of our children. I refuse to accept that the world is so poor when just 1 week of global military expenditure can bring all the children to classrooms. Expenditure means spending. I refuse to accept that all the laws and constitutions, police and judges are unable to protect our children. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can ever be stronger than the quest for freedom. Shackles means chains that bind. Quest means search. I refuse to accept here. My only aim in life is that every child is free to be a child. Free to grow and develop. Free to eat, sleep, and see daylight. Free to laugh and cry. Free to play and learn. Free to go to school. And, above all, free to dream. I have the privilege of working with many courageous people who have the same aim. We have never given up against any threat or attack, and we never will. We have made progress in the last couple of decades. We have reduced the number of out-of-school children by half. We have reduced the number of child laborers by a third. We have reduced child mortality and malnutrition, and we have prevented millions of child deaths. Decade is a period of 10 years. Mortality means death. Malnutrition means poor diet. But let us make no mistake. Great challenges still remain. Friends, the biggest challenge or biggest crisis knocking on the doors of humankind is fear and intolerance. Intolerance means unwillingness to accept views. We have utterly failed our children in imparting an education that gives the meaning and objective of life, an education that gives a sense of global citizenship among the youth. Utterly means completely. Imparting means pass on. I am afraid that the day is not very far away when the cumulative result of this failure will culminate in an unprecedented violence, and that will be suicidal for humankind. Culminative means growing. Culminate means to reach, to peak. Unprecedented means unheard. Rights, security, hope can only be restored through education. Young people like Malala, I've started calling her my daughter Malala, not just Malala. So, my daughter Malala and other daughters, including Kayanat, in fact, 2 Kayanats and Shazia, and the daughters from Africa and from all over the world. They are rising up and choosing peace over violence, tolerance over extremism, and courage over fear. Extremism means holding strong and extreme views. The solutions are emerging. But these solutions cannot be found in the deliberations in conferences alone, and cannot be found in prescriptions from a distance. Deliberations means thoughts or discussions. Prescriptions means written rules. They lie in small groups and local organizations and individuals who are confronting with the problem every day. Confronting means facing and attacking. Even if they remain unacknowledged, unrecognized, and unknown to the world, the solution are with them. Unacknowledged means neglected. Unrecognized means non-identified. Part 2. We can do it. You may ask that, what can one person do? I would recall a story from my childhood. A heavy fire had broken out in the forest. All the animals were running away, including Lion, the king of the forest. Suddenly, then, he saw a tiny bird rushing towards the fire. He asked the bird, "What are you doing?" To the lion's surprise, the bird replied, "I am going to extinguish the fire." The lion laughed and said, "How can you do it, keeping just one drop of water in your beak?" The bird was adamant, and she said, "I am doing my bit." Adamant means unshakable. 18 years ago, millions of individuals marched across the globe and demanded a new international law for the abolition of worst form of child labor, and it has happened. We did it. Millions of individuals did it. Abolition means ending. Friends, we live in an age of rapid globalization. Globalization means close to world. We are connected through high-speed internet. We exchange our goods and services in one single global market. Thousands of flights every day connect us from one corner to another corner of the globe. But there is one serious disconnect, and there is a lack of compassion. Compassion means pity and concern for those suffering. Let us inculcate and transform these individuals' compassion into a global compassion. Let us globalize compassion. Inculcate means develop by instructing. Globalize means expand worldwide. Mahatma Gandhi said, "If we are to teach real peace in this world, we shall have to begin with the children." I humbly add, let us unite the world through the compassion for our children. I ask, whose children are they who stitch footballs yet never played with one? Whose children are they who have harvested cocoa yet have never tasted chocolate? Whose children are they who are dying of Ebola? Ebola is a kind of a virus which causes diseases. Whose children are they who are kidnapped and held hostage? Hostage means prisoner. They are all our children. I remember an 8-year-old we rescued from intergenerational forced labor from stone quarries. Intergenerational means involving several generations. Quarries is a large place from where stones are extracted. When she was sitting in my car, right after her rescue, she asked me, "Why did you not come earlier?" Her angry question still shakes me and has the power to shake the whole world. Her question is for all of us. What are we doing? What are we waiting for? How many girls will we allow to go without rescue? Children are questioning our inaction and watching our actions. Inaction means lack of appropriate action. We need collective actions with a sense of urgency. Every single minute matters. Every single child matters. Every single childhood matters. Therefore, I challenge the passivity and pessimism surrounding our children. Passivity means no action taken. Pessimism means negativity. I challenge this culture of silence and this culture of passivity. This culture of neutrality. Neutrality means not supporting or helping. Part 3. I call upon all the governments, intergovernmental agencies, business businesses, faith leaders, workers, teachers and NGOs, and each one of us, to put an end to all forms of violence against children. Slavery, trafficking, child marriages, child labor, sexual abuse and illiteracy. These things have no place in any civilized society. Trafficking means illegal trading. Friends, we can do this. Governments must make child-friendly policies and invest in education and young people. Businesses must be more responsible, accountable, and open to innovative partnerships. Accountable means responsible. Innovative means having new advanced ideas or methods. Intergovernmental agencies must work together to accelerate action. Global civil society must rise above the business as usual and fragmented agendas. Fragmented means split up or disunified. Agenda is a plan of things to be done to solve a problem. Faith leaders and institutions and all of us must stand with our children. We must be bold, we must be ambitious, and we must have the will. We must keep our promises. Over 50 years ago, on the first day of my school, I met a cobbler boy my age sitting outside the gate of my school. I asked my teachers, "Why is he working outside? Why is he not with us in the school?" My teachers had no answer. One day, I gathered the courage to ask the boy's father. He said, "Sir, I have never thought about it. We are born to work." His answer made me angry. It still makes me angry. As a child, I had a vision of tomorrow. A vision of that cobbler boy sitting with me in my classroom. Now, that tomorrow has become today. I am today, and you are today. Today it is time for every child to have a right to life, right to freedom, right to health, right to education, right to safety, right to dignity, right to equality, and right to peace. Today, beyond the darkness, I see the smiling faces of our children in the blinking stars. Today, in every wave of every ocean, I see my children are playing and dancing. Today, in every plant, in every tree and mountain, I see our children growing freely with dignity. Friends, I want you to see and feel this today, inside you. My dear sisters and brothers, as I said, many interesting things are happening today. May I please request you to put your hand close to your heart, close your eyes, and feel the child inside you? I'm sure you can. Now, listen to that child. Listen, please. Today, I see thousands of Mahatma Gandhis, Nelson Mandelas, and Martin Luther Kings calling on us. Let us democratize knowledge. Democratize means make democratic. Let us universalize justice. Together, let us globalize compassion. Universalize means applicable to everyone. I call upon you in this room and all across the world. I call for a march from exploitation to education. I call for a march from poverty to shared prosperity. A march from slavery to liberty. And a march from violence to peace. Exploitation means take undue advantage of. Prosperity means wealth. Liberty means freedom. Let us march from ignorance to awakening. Let us march from darkness to light. Let us march from mortality to divinity. Divinity means the state of godliness. Let us march. Nobel Acceptance Speech by Kailash Satyarthi.
What does Satyarthi refuse to accept? Answer. Satyarthi is not ready to accept that all the places of worship do not have a place for the dreams of our children, that the world is so poor that it cannot educate all the children, when the reality is that just 1 week of global military expenditure is capable of doing that. He refuses to accept that all the laws and constitutions, police and judges are unable to protect our children, that the shackles of slavery are stronger than the quest for freedom. He refuses to accept all of this because he feels that we are depriving our children of their dreams, and this is the greatest form of violence. What is the only aim in life for Kailash Satyarthi? Kailash Satyarthi's only aim in life is to ensure that every child is free to be a child, free to grow, develop, eat, sleep, see daylight, laugh, cry, play, learn, go to school, and dream. What did millions of individuals demand 18 years ago? 18 years ago, millions of individuals demanded a law to abolish child labor. What matters according to Satyarthi? According to Satyarthi, every single minute, every single child, and every single childhood matters. What was Mr. Satyarthi's vision as a child? As a child, Mr. Satyarthi had a vision of a tomorrow, a vision that the cobbler boy would be sitting with him in his classroom. What does Satyarthi challenge? Satyarthi challenges the passivity and pessimism surrounding our children and the culture of silence, passivity, and neutrality. Why does the 8-year-old girl's question shake Mr. Satyarthi? The 8-year-old girl's question shakes Mr. Satyarthi because it questions our inaction. What was the response of the boy's father? What was Satyarthi's reaction to it? Sri Satyarthi was angry listening to the cobbler's answer, as he had resigned to fate and his situation, and he believed that things cannot change. Somewhere the society is responsible for making the poor believe that education is the right of the privileged. This, according to me, must have made Sri Satyarthi angry. What is your vision of tomorrow? Yes, I strongly feel a vision is important in our life because it gives our life a purpose and direction to our action. A vision helps to go beyond what we think is possible and helps us realize where we are heading. I want to help Mumbai become a zero-waste city. For this, I would wish to start from my home and school. What rights should every child have in our times? Every child should have a right to life, right to freedom, right to health, right to education, right to safety, right to dignity, right to equality, and right to peace.
What does Mr. Satyarthi request the listeners? Answer. Mr. Satyarthi requests the listeners to put hand close to their heart, close eyes, and feel the child inside them. According to Mr. Satyarthi, who are calling for us? Answer. According to Mr. Satyarthi, thousands of Mahatma Gandhis, Nelson Mandelas, and Martin Luther Kings